AWE Europe for the opportunity to present to you what I feel is an exciting sector. Just so you understand really where I'm coming from, I'm an ex-Walt Disney Imagineer, but for my sins I work in location-based entertainment, and I'll go into a little bit more detail of what we mean by location-based entertainment, and then later on we have a number of presentations and panel sessions that will go into a little bit more detail. We're the naughty child of the enterprise sector. We're part of the games industry, but we're also a business approach, and so that's why many people usually miss us off of the radar. When I say the location-based entertainment industry, or as we call it, the digital out-of-home entertainment sector, it's comprised from multiple spheres of influence. This Venn diagrams, can look more like an eye chart than a reality check on a market. But for the colorblind, the big green blob at the top is what we call the pay-for-play industry, the amusement, the gaming, what would have been called the arcade industry back in the day. The purple blob is the theme park industry and the visitor attraction industry. Then at the bottom we have the orange blob, which is education, expos, edutainment, those kinds of words. And then retail attainment in orange, that is the retail industry trying to get over the retail apocalypse by including an entertainment component. And then we have the big grey blob at the top, the monster, that is the consumer games industry. It has an influence on our market, but it doesn't really have a direct impact. And if you'd come to my presentation a year ago, you would have seen there would have been two grey blobs. There would have been one at the top, which would have been for the consumer games industry, and one at the bottom for the big blue blob now, which is the digital gaming. And that is the casino, the gambling, the land-based gambling industry, and they are now making a major impact into the out-of-home entertainment sector, partly fueled by the insurgence of esports. So anyway, a little bit of history lesson, and if any of you are coming to the Hologate party tonight, you'll hear a longer version of the history of the sector, but you have to understand that immersive entertainment is not a new concept. It's been with us for some time. And immersive entertainment on a virtual reality basis has also been with us. I was involved right back in the 90s with the first attempt to utilize virtual reality technology into the out-of-home entertainment market. Then we were strapping bread box size, shoe box size head-mounted displays using LED panels and LCD panels stolen from flat-screen TVs onto our head, but now obviously courtesy of what we've achieved through mobile phone connectivity and the ability to microdize the tech into a means that is usable for the market, we're now approximating head-mounted displays that are more like a skiing goggles rather than a shoebox. That said, the technology is still at an infancy. For me, I still treat this as the second phase of adoption, and I'm not going to be stupid enough to try and calculate how many attempts we're going to have to go through before it becomes mainstream. So the history is interesting, but you're here for the reality of the current. We break down the market into 4 phases of development, and those phases are very important, not just to the adoption of the hardware, but also how it's being utilized and where the future investment is going to come from. Now, many people ask me, hey, the consumer sector has virtual reality, you're not going to exist because everybody will be playing theme parks at home. Well, the last person that told me that, the first person that tried to intimate that was back in the 90s. The second person that tried to intimate that was just being funded by Facebook, and that was back in 2014, and we're still here. So it's quite clear that the consumer side of virtual reality has kind of stagnated as a deployment machine, where we're lucky in the out-of-home market to actually be generating revenue. And that's important, especially to investors. And as I've broken it down, the first kind of applications are the passive deployments of VR. This is what I like to say, it's you're removing the cinema screen and you're dropping in virtual reality headsets. The difference here is that because they're positional or immersive entertainment experiences, you can add motion synchronized to the experience, and you're pulling the audience into a brand new experience. And it's a phrase you're going to hear me say again and again, both unachievable at home and unique experience. If we aren't achieving those aspects in our business, then people are going to stay at home, sit on their comfortable couch, use their comfortable console systems plugged into their comfortable internet, and they're going to be very happy. We have to offer an experience that is compelling enough to have the audience come to our facility, pay the bucks to ride on the systems or to play again and again. And we have something in our sector called 4D market, which really alludes to the use of physical effects in ride film experiences. And the cinema industry has had a lot of success with their 4D seat systems, that red thing in the corner where you get on board, and during the Avengers movie you'll shake until your fillings fall out of your teeth. We, in the out-of-home sector, have versions of those kind of 4D experiences, much shorter in duration. They're usually about 15-minute film experiences, but again, replacing the screen for head-mounted displays so you get a complete 360 experience. And if you've got a motion base or a moving chair in a cinema, and you can rub a little bit of virtual reality into it, why not take an attraction that is already moving quite extremely and put some virtual reality into it? And so we've had, in phase 2 and 3 of the industry's adoption, the use of virtual reality. You know, hey, you're a theme park operator, you've got a roller coaster that's coming to the end of its life. Do you pull it down and spend another $3, $4, $5, $6 million on a new roller coaster, or do you just rub a little bit of virtual reality onto it, and then suddenly you've got a totally different experience? And for a number of years, last 3 years, we've seen companies take fundamentally mobile VR systems, create content mirrored to the ride envelope of the systems, and take people for a spin. It's been a mixed bag application. It's proven popular, it's proven cost effective, but from an operations point of view, we've had issues. It takes a long time to load someone into a virtual reality roller coaster compared to sit down, safety harness, and away you go in the normal convention of the systems. And so the jury's a little bit out on where mobile VR systems in mass use roller coaster systems is going to go from this point on. But it is a landmark. It is a point in the sand that we've actually adopted. And hey, if you've got a roller coaster or a flat ride, why not rub a little bit of virtual reality onto a bumper car or a go-kart system? Well, number one, the main reason why you don't want to do that for a go-kart system is blindfolding someone driving around a go-kart course kind of sounds dangerous, and also if Windows decides to do an update, you're going to have a lot of wreckage on the track. But from the bumper car point of view, from the enclosed environment, it's worked out quite nicely. And there are about 3 or 4 companies in China and about 2 or 3 in the West that have created bumper car experiences using virtual reality headsets. There is another technology that's coming along or is being implemented that you need to be aware of, but we'll come back to this. And then, obviously, the scare, the dark rides, the media-based attraction industry said, well, if the roller coaster guys can do it and the bumper car guys can do it, why not let's have a go at deploying this technology in our sector? And we saw back in 2016, the deployment, 16-17, the deployment of the Darren Brown Ghost Train, which was the first proper virtual reality theme park attraction. And it mixed 4 elements together, 3 or 4 elements. The first was a mobile themed environment, a ghost train for argument's sake. The audience goes into a themed environment, puts the head-mounted displays on, and a representation of that environment is created virtually, and then it is changed significantly through the scare attraction. You then take the head-mounted display off, you walk through a specially themed package, people in rubber suits jump out and try and scare you, and then you get back on for the final part of the experience. And that was the first deployment of head-mounted displays into a theme park experience for a large throughput audience. And it had mixed reviews. It had a lot of teething troubles. It had a lot of issues to get over. But hey, that is our technology. This is where we are. We are now at the learning stage And in phase 2 and 3 and 4, we have gone through a baptism of fire of trying to work out what does work and what doesn't work. Hey, if you're going to have people in a ghost train, why not have people in a haunted house put virtual reality on? And so early on, some of the very early standalone wires-free head-mounted displays, very early in the deployment of this technology, started to create haunted house experiences that you walked through, and at the click of a mouse you can change the experience. So it's zombie flesh eaters one day, click of a mouse, it's mutant Santa. It's that kind of flexibility that started to pique the interest of the out-of-home entertainment industry, that's saying once this technology gets better, once it gets more established, then this has a part to play in our future business model. As I said, the consumer industry stalled. Fundamentally, none of the head-mounted displays achieved the sales in the consumer sector that they were hoping. You know, the most successful of the consumer head-mounted displays, the PlayStation VR, only achieved 5 million only. But from Sony's point of view, they were hoping for 18, 20 million take-up over the period of the system. But it didn't mean that the audience hadn't lost its interest in virtual reality, and so we have seen what I like to call virtual reality tanning salons. You know, you go into this facility, you pay a certain amount of money for a period of time in one of these booths, trying out the latest virtual reality experiences, tanning your brain, and then they kick you out. And we've seen across the market, across the international market, first in Asia and then across the West, we have seen the popping up of VR arcade facilities. Most of these are startups from entrepreneurs who want to jump onto the VR market and see this as a great opportunity, but also from the content developers. So we have companies like Servios, who've had incredible success with their virtual reality content in the consumer sector, but are getting a second bite of the cherry by running their own virtual reality arcade facilities. The family entertainment center market, or the mixed-use entertainment market, has seen virtual reality as an addition to the lineup, the rostrum of products that they supply. And so, you know, companies like Cineplex, who have quite a large number of family entertainment centers in North America, have now rolled into a partnership with The Void to include their unique mix of themed entertainment into their unique mix. In Asia, the amusement industry, still going strong, has embraced VR with with some intrepidation. They are concerned that you can't just take an arcade product and turn it into a virtual product. You do need to have certain unique flavors and blends and to make adaptations for the market requirements. But Bandai Namco, Sega, and Taito have all jumped in with both feet and created virtual reality arcade facilities that are unique to the particular product's needs. We've jumped into the current phase of major adoption now with arena scale, what some people call free roaming. And that is moving away from forcing the person to be standing in a particular space and not moving. We're now utilizing the most important part of VR, which is its freedom of expression. And so we have companies like Zero Latency, one of the pioneers that has looked at free roaming VR with multiple players. And this is, again, another aspect that you need to consider when you look at the success of location-based VR. It's not just because it's the technology, it's not just because it's a unique experience, but it's a unique experience that you can play with other individuals, and that's important. As I was mentioning, our friends at The Void, they started off with their backpack VR experiences mirrored to physical items in a themed environment, and the special sauce that they have also applied themselves towards is utilizing movie licenses. So it is not just the experience, it is not just the camaraderie of playing with groups of individuals, but it is also playing in a virtual recreation of popular intellectual properties, IPs. So you have Star Wars, you have Avengers, you have Ghostbusters. Soon you'll have Mission Impossible. Soon you'll have Men in Black. Soon you'll have Jurassic World. These are all properties that are now being injected into a virtual free roaming game experience. The Terminator Salvation property has been turned into a free roaming VR experience. And Men in Black will be soon created for our friends at Nomadic. And now we're seeing the big investment. A couple of days ago, we heard that our friends at The Void has just received another tranche of investment. Our friends here at Sandbox VR received, was it 62 point something million, supported by our friends at Alibaba. So you can see where most of the companies that were putting their investment into consumer VR have now pivoted into location-based entertainment. And you'll be hearing some other announcements in November of other major companies moving into this sector. Dave & Buster's have been a leader. They're a location-based American family entertainment center. They have about 160, 70 facilities dotted across North America. They created their own virtual reality system in partnership with VR Studios, a well-respected developer. They created a Jurassic World experience. They created a Star Trek experience. They created a Men in Black experience. Not available for the consumer. Only available for location-based entertainment. We are dead, sir. Oh, there we go, back again. The arcade industry has put a lot of investment into trying to work out the best way to utilize VR. And so we have successful products such as Virtual Rabbids, which is fundamentally that 4D ride system I showed you earlier, but turned into a turnkey system. And anyone that says that you can't run an unattended virtual reality system, there are 500 units of that out in the market to prove you wrong. We have arcade experiences being condensed down into simple modular systems that can be put into family entertainment centers. We even have virtual reality driving arcade experiences using head-mounted displays. And we're lucky enough here to have Holodeck, who's one of the most successful of the VR arcade enclosure systems, again comprising all of the points that I brought up earlier. It's 4 players, so you're playing in groups. It's using very popular film and television properties. They have a Das Boot escape game. They have Angry Birds 2 game that you can play on the stage. They have many other products coming along in a package that offers a simple pay-for-play model, and the amusement sector loves it. And there are many other companies now developing a similar kind of enclosure-based installation VR system. Some of them linking it to omnidirectional treadmills, such as the ones from our friends at Virtuix, which are also in part linked to eSport, and I'll come back to that quickly in a minute. And then we have the escape room business. So the escape room industry is now looking towards deploying virtual reality escape rooms. And of course, the benefit of that is that you don't need any physical show set. So it's a much cheaper application and also much more compelling because it's using the latest immersive technology. Quickly through the gambling industry, the gaming sector loves VR at the moment. They've been looking at virtual reality gaming systems. They've been looking at the wagering system. So not only are you playing, but your friends outside are betting on how long it takes before the zombies eat your face. And then esports, obviously. And this is something that's appearing on the horizon. A lot of interest from the Asian deployment of esports. It's not new. We in the amusement industry have been dealing with audience-based play experiences for some time, but now through the popularity of this particular medium, we're seeing it utilized in themed entertainment facilities in casinos, such like, and even for tournament competitions here in South Korea. Brogent was involved with quite a large racing. It was a more science fiction racing experience that had a big esports following, and so they created a virtual reality stage system that acted both as an entertainment platform but as a draw for the audience. So we need to, I'm a consultant, so I have to show you the good and the bad while I'm trying to grab your wallet, and we need to be aware of some of the issues out there. When we deploy this technology into the market, we have to understand that there's a hygiene issue. And so, that's important. We're blindfolding individuals, so we need to train the staff correctly. And also there's an age restriction that you need to be aware of. And then the fundamentals. This is not just about hype, has to generate revenue. And we have to make sure that the correct people get their payments. So it's not just the IP owners, not just the operators of the machines, but also the game developers and the hardware manufacturers. And also we have to make it social. All of our products are made for that photo moment, that Kodak moment, that capture people inside the experience. And fundamentally, we've had to take the technology as it exists, because we're using consumer-based head-mounted technology, and we're having to beat it into submission to be suitable for application in out-of-home. So now we are building special versions of the HTCs. This is an out-of-date slide, fundamentally. We are now at a point, and if you go onto the show floor, you will see that we have dedicated enterprise-level head-mounted displays that are now being deployed in the market. And if you look at the Varjo, if you look at the Star VR, if you look at the Pimax, and if you look at the new Quest that's coming out, these are systems that have now been developed with enterprise in mind. So rather than bootstrapping consumer systems to get them to work in theme parks, we now have the ear of the manufacturers towards supplying the systems we need. But this is AWE. This isn't virtual world entertainment show. This is augmented world. And we've got to look at the next generation of technology that we're looking at. And I'll quickly go through this. Pokemon, still incredibly popular. It has opened everybody's eyes to what augmented reality can do in the market. We've been using augmented reality entertainment systems in theme parks since the late 90s, when at Disney we had attractions like Kim Possible, which was a kind of paper trail treasure hunt experience that used the latest of the then smartphones. We're now seeing the next generation of smartphones in their augmented reality configuration being used in player versus player experiences. Our friends in Japan, Heido, have developed Meeleap have developed their Heido system, which allows groups of players, and fundamentally, I know that all of you are up to speed on what augmented and virtual reality offers, but, augmented is the ability to place synthetic information on top of real-world imagery. So you can see the person you're competing with. You can see the fireballs that they're launching at you. You can see the scores. You can put up shields because of hand gesture technology. This is really where the fundamentals are going with the deployment of augmented reality into this market. And we're talking about the bumper car. We've got the go-kart. So, yes, you're not blindfolding the person. You can superimpose digital imagery on top of the real world, and suddenly you've got an augmented reality go-kart system. And this is now becoming a fundamental component of our sector. We will be using augmented reality displays in laser tag, in go-karts, in all aspects. And what I mean by all aspects is that we can now use augmented viewing systems for drone racing in public spaces, but also for drone combat. Again, the same principle as I showed you earlier with the PvP, where you have you are the device and you're throwing fireballs. You can now look through the drone's camera system and then take part in virtual entertainment. The physical meets the digital. And then you can drop the individual into a virtual recreation of a classic game, such as with Pong, here renamed Ping. You can see the other person that you're competing with, who is representing the other block, and suddenly you're dropped into Tron. It's that kind of level of engagement that mixed reality compared to virtual reality allows us to employ. And then, going back to the scare experiences and going back to what we were talking about with the haunted house, rather than having the person in the rubber suit jumping out in front of you, we can now have a digital scare created through augmented glasses. And this was one of the first deployments of the HoloLens, HoloLens 2 and the HoloLens 1 into out-of-home entertainment. And you'll be seeing a number of facilities launching next year augmented reality experiences that utilize this level of engagement. And with the escape room business, they have been seeing the utilization of smartphone and augmented reality displays in their sector. It's proving an addition to the padlocks and the puzzles. and we expect to see a lot more of this becoming prevalent with the development. The escape room business is incredible, and it keeps on going. It's the Duracell bunny of our market. And then towards cross-reality, and this is really at the cusp. This is the next generation. This is the future that most of my time is being put towards, beyond the virtual reality and the augmented reality and the mixed reality stuff that I do. What you're looking at here is a cross-reality, a mixture of multiple disciplines to create a unique experience. So you're seeing a projected environment that's using digital projection that is interactive with the augmented reality weapons that the guests are using, and the creatures, the aliens, or in this particular case, the ghosts that you're trying to capture are totally synthetic. They are created by the system, the game system, but they're represented on the digital screen as well as in the augmented reality screen, and they also cause physical activity. So that 4D effect, tables flipping over, chairs being knocked over, gusts of wind, heat blasts, are all married into the same experience. And the hope is that with this kind of level of interactive entertainment, we can then add interactivity to any kind of experience. So we now have interactive climbing walls. You have a climbing wall, very boring. Suddenly you can have it as a game experience and you can charge revenue for it. So it generates a secondary income, so it becomes much more compelling for the audience. And the companies are creating smaller versions of the projection mapped floor, interactive floor systems that can be deployed into family entertainment centers. And then for those people that don't want to use head-mounted displays, we create their own personal head-mounted display. I like to call this the sneeze guard, but the principle of this is that a very high-level image can be projected onto the dome display, much higher than could be ever achieved with a head-mounted display technology as it is at the moment, and you're offering the person their own unique planetarium experience. And then taking that projection mapping to its logical conclusion, Walt Disney's been playing with the idea of full projection mapped shooting gallery experiences. So all of the objects there are physical, but they're being projected on top of to give them the illusion of animation and interactivity. And you will be seeing quite a lot more with the latest 8K projection systems of this kind of deployment into the market. And it is this kind of approach that is compelling, because you don't need to wear a head-mounted display, you don't have to worry about all of the issues of cleaning stuff. You are creating a digital or synthetic environment for the individual to compete in. And really, the shooting gallery has led on to the next deployment, which is creating the projected environment. And we have a couple of companies, such as our friends at Scale One, who have created their system. But really fundamentally what I would point you towards is what we're stealing from the military side. So the law enforcement and the military industry have been using enclosed digital projected environments, what showing my age, what I would call caves, computer augmented virtual environments. But these really place you into the game experience or into the simulation experience. And you will be seeing at the end of next year a number of companies launching total immersion entertainment systems that also marry augmented components, that also marry physical effects, but drop the individual into the environment without the worries of having to carry around $1,000 head-mounted displays. Anyway, I bored you enough. What I'd like you to take away from this particular part of the presentation is that it's an operations model. It isn't about the hype, it's about the experience. It has to generate revenue. It isn't just about doing it once and never coming back again. And so that's why content creation is so important for the future of this market. We also have to think about the repeatability, that is simple change around a content. And so the future of our market is finding game developers that will help steer where our future goes. I've zipped through that very quickly in the half an hour that I was given. If you need more information, there is a book that came out in 2014-15, We're now working on the next version of that book that comes out next year, and that will go into a lot more detail into the current generations. I have a very short time to take any questions.